Like Keith Porter told us in the interview that I did with him a couple months ago, he absolutely thinks that this could be her MVP season in just her second year.
It goes without saying, Caitlin Clark just delivered a rookie season for the history books. And based on what we've seen this offseason, the Fever are stacking weapons. Caitlin's stacking gym hours and muscle milk, and something special is about to explode. This isn't just a breakout year. It's the year that changes everything. Now that the dust is cleared, the draft is done, and we're a heartbeat away from tip-off, the predictions are flying, and nobody agrees. Will the Fever run the table? Will Caitlin walk away with MVP? Cold? These aren't just questions. They're battle cries, because Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are the most watched force in basketball, period. Some fans want them to succeed so badly they can taste it. Others, they'd rather watch the whole WNBA burn than watch Caitlin reign. And here's where it gets crazy. The season hasn't even started, and the excuse makers are already punching the clock. You hear it brewing, it's just hype. She didn't really earn it. The excuse train is rolling in, and it reeks of fear, but we are not done yet. We're diving deep into the wild predictions, the hilariously bad hot takes, yes, looking at you, ESPN, and the overlooked X factors that could launch the Fever straight to the promised land. Buckle up, because if you think you know how this season ends, you don't. Smash that like button if you got Caitlin winning MVP, and drop it if you're riding with the Fever to the top. This isn't just a season, it's a statement.
I am really excited, and I didn't come here for the spotlight. I didn't come here to have more eyes. I came here to win.
When it comes to the Indiana Fever, the hype isn't just big, it's historic. This isn't just the most anticipated season in Fever history. This might be the most anticipated season for any WNBA team ever. The spotlight? Blinding. We're talking full throttle media frenzy, wall-to-wall coverage, packed out arenas for every road game, and more national broadcasts than any team has ever seen. The eyes of the world are locked on Indiana. And here's the thing, they earned every bit of it, because this offseason, the Fever didn't just add talent, they added battle-tested winners who know how to dominate.
20-point game. DeWanna Bonner has never scored 40 in a game. She could do it right there. 41.
They just have to be more consistent, especially on the defensive end.
And Natasha Howard having her way tonight.
All-stars and champions, real battle-hardened warriors just joined the Fever's ranks. Dana Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sydney Colson. These aren't just names, they're game changers. And that's not all. Spark plug Sophie Cunningham is in the house. And this time, Caitlin Clark won't be standing alone. When things get rough, Sophie's stepping in. Not like last season, when Caitlin got decked and her team just stood there frozen. This year, it's different. This year, it's personal.
But what irritates me is that no one came to Caitlin Clark's defense in that moment.
Yeah, that's not happening this year. Caitlin's carrying the league on her back, and nobody's taking her out at the knees. This squad, they're veterans. They know how to win, how to fight, and how to survive when the pressure feels like 1,000 pounds of spotlight. But maybe the biggest bombshell of all, the shakeup at head coach.
We won't get this again. There's no saving. There's no conserving. You leave everything that you have out there on the
that made the call, and it was bold. Christy Sides is out. Stephanie White is in. White isn't just another coach. She's a proven champion, a mastermind with X's and O's, and a leader built for the pressure that's coming. She's the one who can take this team exactly where they're destined to go, the next level.
New Fever head coach Stephanie White returns to Indiana with one of the most legendary basketball resumes in the history of the sport.
Stephanie White knows exactly how to manage a locker room loaded with big personalities and even bigger expectations. And that's exactly the edge this Fever squad needs right now. Even the sports books are seeing it. They're already betting she'll have a massive impact. More on that in a minute. But let's be real. Everything for the Fever starts and ends with one thing.
Chant a defense by the Sparks fans. 6 on the shot clock. Clark, a deep three.
Good interior passing, but Indiana's got to stop letting the ball get into the paint. They've got to keep it out.
Clark, step back, hits a three.
She's not just the face of the Fever. She's the face of the entire league. Caitlin Clark is the reason Indiana went from forgotten bottom dwellers to one of the most talked about teams in all of sports. Caitlin isn't just a star, she's a movement. She's the player who sells out arenas in minutes, shatters jersey sales records, and draws millions for a preseason game. And trust us, it's only just starting. Now, with a deeper roster and a battle-tested coach at her side, Caitlin's about to unlock a whole new level. The Fever are tougher, smarter, hungrier, but at the heart of it all, still Caitlin Clark. As she rises, the league rises. You can see it already. Clark steps back, drains a three. That was the Fever in the playoffs, a place they hadn't touched since 2016 until Caitlin showed up and changed everything. I'm not going to bore you running through all her stats. You already know the numbers, you've seen the records. The real story? The complete transformation of the Indiana Fever from forgotten to feared. And trust me, these wild predictions I'm about to dive into. Some of them are spot on, and some are way, way off.
Yeah, sorry, they were better than the Sun. So after the first 10 games, I know when you look at the standings, that has to be taken into account. But after they figured it out, they were the fourth best team in the WNBA. They were better than they did better than the Storm, they did better than the Sun.
After starting the season 1-8, Caitlin, and by extension the entire Indiana Fever, flipped a switch. They didn't just bounce back, they tore through the league. They locked in, went to work, and finished the regular season 20-20, punching their playoff ticket with authority. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a full-on resurgence. And while the Fever surged, Caitlin! She was dropping MVP level performances like it was just another day at the office. Caitlin finished 4th in MVP voting as a rookie. Now, after her first true offseason to rest, reload, and sharpen every weapon in her arsenal, she's coming back jacked, laser focused, and ready to ignite 2025 MVP championship. Both are officially on the table. So you'd think, right? You'd think that after the Fever's electric finish, their monster offseason moves. And the fact that Caitlin's just getting started, the preseason rankings would show them love. Yeah, not exactly. As expected, the rankings are all over the place. Some are fair, some playing it embarrassingly safe. Let's start with the Fever's championship odds. Fansided just dropped their preseason power rankings, and they've got Indiana sitting squarely in the middle. 6th, barely a playoff team. No top 3 respect, no serious threat label, just average. But what really pushes this into crazy town is who they put ahead of them. And yeah, I was about to raise some serious eyebrows.
They added experience into Juana Bonner and Tasha Hare, as well as re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. The remaining core of last year's team in Clark, Aaliyah Boss, and Lexi Hull will now have mentorship from these players. The big upgrade was the hiring of Stephanie White. But expect Fever to continue to put pieces together this season, inching closer to full potential as a full team with a Clark lean team. 6. You think the Seattle Storm? The Seattle Storm weren't even better than the Fever last year.
Now, if you check the odds makers, they're a lot more bullish on the Fever. Most betting markets have Indiana sitting as either the 3rd or 4th favorite to win the WNBA championship this season. And honestly, it makes perfect sense if you've been paying attention. The talent, there. The momentum, there. The ticket demand, the national broadcast, it's all screaming juggernaut in the making. And here's where it gets even crazier. A few bold voices inside the WNBA media world, they're pushing it even further. Some believe the Fever aren't just a top 3 squad. They could be the 2nd best team, or maybe the absolute best team heading into 2025.
With a new coach and Coach Stephanie White, a lot of the games that the Indiana Fever team lost last year were close games that they weren't able to pull out at the end. A lot of that comes down to coaching. Now you have a veteran coach in Coach Stephanie White. You have seen her be so involved with her players. Also, none of these players played overseas this season. Some of them played in Unrivaled, some of them played in AU. They were all here, and a lot of them were in Indiana training all summer. There are just so many things from what we know about this team. And again, I know that I have not seen this team on the court together. We don't know how the chemistry is going to shake out, but seeing what they had last year and now seeing what they have this year, I have them shaking out at the end of the season being that number 2 seed in the WNBA. And if they can get it together quick enough, they might inch their way into that number 1 seed.
Now, Rachel made a couple of really important points.
Rachel made some massive points here. Now, you can't ignore them. First, the coaching situation. Last year, you could feel it from Caitlyn's early interviews quietly hinting that nobody was really guiding her to her off-season comments. Subtly calling out a lack of real strategy to the raw, visible frustration you could see on the court. The picture was clear. The Fever weren't winning because of Christy Sides. They were winning in spite of her.
Indiana Fever's coaching staff is destroying Caitlin Clark's offensive game. This one is just so beyond defensive. Caitlin Clark blows by the defender off a pump fake right here. So what is that Fever player doing? The Fever have no idea what they're doing with Caitlin Clark off ball screen.
That's why the coaching swap was the first domino to fall. Look, I'm not saying Caitlin Clark is a coach killer, but let's be real. When you got the hottest player on the planet and the entire sport watching, you better have a coach. You who can match that energy. Otherwise, it's a disaster just waiting to happen. Second, Rachel brought up something almost nobody's talking about. The players staying stateside. Unlike most teams, the Fever's core didn't go overseas this offseason. They're not flying back jet lagged. They're not rolling and burn out. They've been grinding together right there in Indianapolis, building chemistry, building cohesion, and in a league with constant off-season chaos, that kind of continuity could be deadly. It could mean that Fever come out hot and stay hot while everyone else is still finding their footing. And then there's one more thing to consider, one thing that could flip this entire story on its head.
And another thing that is going for the Fever that's going to make them a really hard team to play is that they turn every home game and every away game into a home game. That home crowd follows them wherever they go. Every single Indiana Fever game is going to be played on a big stage. All of the teams that they are playing against, they are moving them to other arenas. The Indiana Fever are preparing themselves through the regular season for the big stage when it comes to the play.
Rachel calls it preparation, and she's right, but I'll take it even further. It's swagger. The Fever aren't just a team anymore. They're rock stars. Every road game, packed arenas, fans screaming their names, waving signs, lining up hours before tip-off. That kind of spotlight, it doesn't just build chemistry, it builds pride, it builds confidence, it builds swagger. They know who they are. They know exactly what they bring to the table. And that energy, that environment, absolutely hardens you for the big stage. Because here's the truth. Every single team is going to bring their absolute A game when they face the Fever. No nights off. No easy wins. No freebies. Every game will be a battle. And with nearly every game nationally televised, opponents are going to treat every matchup like it's their own personal all-star showcase.
Their own personal all-star showcase.
But this notion that the rest of the WNBA is being slighted, I just think is counterintuitive because the rest of the WNBA is being boosted. I don't know how many different ways I have to say that. I mean, Nafisa Collier, as much as she might have a beef with not being promoted enough, is a much bigger name now than she was this time last year.
Honestly, this is fantastic for the WNBA. The intensity is going to at least second, and that's with just one season under her belt. And Rachel, just like she's high on the Fever's potential, she's just as bullish on Caitlin. She sees the vision, the momentum, the talent, the exposure. All of it is lining up.
And now Caitlin Clark is surrounded by not just a couple great players, the entire squad is finally full. So my prediction going into this season is that teams are not going to be able to face guard, to double team, to pick up full court like they were last year because there are so many other threats on the court with this Indiana Fever team. And I think with having a coach like Stephanie White, she's going to have a better system, a better scheme to break some of these defenses that they didn't have last year. So I think all of this put together is just a perfect storm, a perfect recipe for Caitlin Clark. Like Keith Porter told us in the interview that I did with him a couple months ago, he absolutely thinks that this could be her MVP season in just her second year in the WNBA. That is why she is my choice for the 2025 WNBA MVP.
The same reasons Rachel favors the Fever to be a top-tier team, a full supporting cast, better coaching, and actual team cohesion are exactly why she believes Caitlin has the best shot to win MVP. And she's not alone in that thinking. By the way, if you're curious how confident the betting markets are in this Fever glow-up, the sportsbooks have Stephanie White as the overwhelming favorite to win Coach of the Year. So yeah, everything is lining up. A veteran coach, a rebuilt roster, a rested, stronger, more experienced Caitlin Clark. All the ingredients for an absolutely dominant season. But of course, not everyone sees it that way. Fansided dropped their MVP rankings, and while having Caitlin at number 4 isn't outrageous, it's who they ranked ahead of her that really turns heads.
The thing is, there is a weird situation where Caitlin Clark wins MVP. There is no way Stewie wins MVP.
There are definitely some folks out there who are reluctant to put Caitlin in the top 3, choosing instead to place her behind established stars like Brianna Stewart or A'ja Wilson. And look, fair enough, those are proven MVPs with rings and resumes to match. But even those more cautious takes admit something important. Caitlin absolutely has a real shot. Even in the same breath as they rank her 4th, they concede that all the pieces are in place for her to surpass those names and make a serious MVP run. So overall, the media, at least the ranking side of it, is actually being fair for once. It's almost like they know this isn't a long shot. Caitlin Clark could very realistically win MVP this season, and it wouldn't be a surprise. And this is where the excuses start creeping in. Because once it becomes clear that she might actually win it, some people start shifting gears. Cue the preemptive dismissals, the "it's just hype," the media bias arguments, all the ways people try to downplay what could be a historic season.
Today, Elle Duncan, folks, Elle Duncan. It seems as if ESPN has given her the script for the 2025 WNBA seasons.
Remember Elle Duncan? The hot take machine who said this about Fever fans.
The new fans are sucking the f***ing life out of the WNBA right now. It's just the truth.
Well, Elle Duncan thinks Caitlin's got a chance to win MVP, but if she does, it's not solely because of her performance on the court. According to Elle, there's another reason. Get ready for this.
Expect A'ja Wilson to be A'ja Wilson again this year? Yes. But I also know there is such a thing as voter fatigue. They don't like giving anybody MVP 3 times in a row. They barely like to do it 2 times in a row, let alone 3 times in a row. I just don't see it, simply because of voter fatigue.
That's right. She claims it'll come down to voter fatigue, that voters simply won't want to give A'ja Wilson her 3rd straight MVP, and that Caitlin could slip in because people are just tired of voting for A'ja. There's one problem with that theory, though. A'ja Wilson didn't win MVP twice in a row. Brianna Stewart won it in 2023.
A'ja Wilson hasn't won MVP twice in a row. What are you talking about? What is she talking about?
Let's be clear. A'ja just reclaimed the MVP, and did so after putting up an absolutely dominant season. There's no such thing as fatigue when you're on a 1-win streak. If voters were tired of her, she wouldn't have won it last year. So to float the idea that Caitlin Clark could win only because voters are avoiding A'ja, that's not analysis, it's deflection. And look, Elle might have misspoken about A'ja's MVP awards, but the concept behind it is what matters. If Caitlin wins, there's a reason other than people who've spent the last year trying to undermine everything she's accomplished. All the tired narratives.
She was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people.
I still don't think she's dominating, but she's a different player than she was in the first half.
All of it gets torched the moment she hoists that trophy. Because if Caitlin wins MVP, she wins it on merit. Not because someone else was snubbed, not because voters were bored, but because she was flat out the best player in the league. An MVP award says one thing, loud and clear. She earned it. Every bucket, every assist, every win. No spin, no qualifiers, just dominance. And if the WNBA is smart and finally leans into this moment, it could be looking at the start of its own Jordan era. Caitlin Clark could be the one who bridges the gap between hardcore fans and mainstream audiences. The one who turns casuals into lifers. The one who finally launches the league into a new tier of cultural relevance. But we already know what's coming. If the Fever rack up the wins, it's a super team. If Caitlin wins awards, she had help. If she breaks another viewership record, it's just middle America flexing for her and ignoring the rest of the league because they're bad people. The excuses are already being loaded into the chamber, ready to be fired off on X, and sports shows the minute she succeeds. But here's the reality. Millions of people will still be tuning in. Kids will still be wearing her jersey. Heck, everyone will be. It's the second most sold jersey in the NBA behind Steph Curry. And yeah, all those NBA arenas will still be sold out. At the end of the day, Caitlin, like Sophie said earlier in this video, is here to win. She wants a championship. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the jealous media and players respond when it happens. They already call her the scheduling conflict. But perhaps they better start calling her Neo because she is the one. And eventually, the Hatelins will need to get used to it. If you're still here, drop a basketball emoji in the comments to say hi. Thanks for watching. See you next time.